Yeah, how we doing?
Oh, pretty good. This is MMA fight coverage with Thom Ortiz and Carlos Ortiz. Welcome, and I really appreciate this.
Hey, no worries, guys.
Thank you. My friend William Stanton wanted me to ask you about your first fight and any stories about your old days in the amateurs. But I've got a bunch
Who,
of other questions.
who asked that?
William Stanton.
Okay. One of my first experiences, like as an amateur.
Yep.
Um, Man, my amateur career was crazy. It wasn't even the sport wasn't even sanctioned here in Nebraska at the time. So it was kind of like the wild, wild west. Back in those days, I got a bunch of crazy stories, but I think just the way that the whole system was ran at the time was pretty crazy. Like we would just show up. There'd be a fight night. They'd put the flyers out. They'd spread the word about it, and then it just would have the date and the venue, and you would just show up, and then you would just, all the fighters would have to come way early, and we would just sign up on, this little waiver form, and then what you thought your weight might be or what you're close to. If anyone had any questions about it, if they thought you were lying, you just they put you on a scale, but then they just matched you up. Like there was no record, like your record was just whatever you said it was. So and they would just match you up close, as close as they could get to, weight and experience and record. And they'd have this little weird fighter meeting that wasn't much of a fighter meeting. You just went out and fought. Like I kind of missed those days, just showing up and having no idea who you were going to fight. You just showed up and did what you did.
Yeah, that's some gangster stuff right there. How many amateur fights did you have?
Um, I ended my amateur career 19-5. But I lost my first four fights. So that was pretty crazy. But yeah, I lost my first four and then my second to last amateur fight, which is crazy because back in the day, even when they sanctioned it in Nebraska, Iowa and South Dakota were like the last two states to sanction MMA in the state. So back then, pros used to, like, they would go other places, get paid to fight, and then they could come back to Iowa or South Dakota if they were trying to just get some experience, or promoters are paying them under the table sometimes. So pros would come back down and fight amateurs for like small bits of cash.
So you've had 73 fights? Is that
Yeah.
what you're telling me?
Hmm.
That's impressive. That's a lot of fights, man. You got a
Yeah,
lot of
yeah.
experience, and I'm just going to make an assumption. You're really looking forward to this Saturday. Can you tell
Yeah.
us something about that?
Yeah. No, I know that, everyone says it, and thank you. Um, Everyone says that they love fighting and they live for this, but like I genuinely live for this, and when I'm not able to do it, um, I'm just a different person. So when I was out hurt, it just messes with my head. So I'm really, really excited for this. I really like the matchup. And to be fair, it's not a terrible thing to be. This is my third fight in a row, or three out of four that I'm fighting someone that I genuinely don't mind. Like just as a person. Devin is from Sioux Falls, South Dakota, which is 3 hours from where I grew up. We kind of, he was on the same regional scene as me. We fought in a lot of the same organizations. He's a little bit behind me as far as, getting in the UFC and stuff, but I've fought on several cards with him. His old man is just a character. He's a real cool dude. His dad's with him everywhere. We've cut weight together. He's just a decent guy. I don't mind him. He's a family guy. He's got, he's married, got a kid. But I like the matchup. I don't think that there's any secret in this fight. What both of us want to do. He
Is he
needs
a
to.
striker?
No, he's a wrestler.
Hmm.
And he's got to wrestle. There's no world that exists where Devin Clark stands in the middle of the octagon with me for 15 minutes. It just doesn't. That world doesn't exist. So, and I don't think there's any secret that I don't mind being on the ground. I think it just comes down to me being intentional with my grappling and stuff. Sometimes I do tend to get a little bit comfortable on my back, and this is one of those fights we can't do that.
Mhm.
How has the pandemic affected your training and also fighting with no fans? How has that affected your fighting?
I think the fighting without the fans is probably a bigger issue to me than training during the pandemic. At the very beginning of it, it was really sketchy. Like the gym was completely shut down, and training was really tough. And that was right going into the Glover Teixeira fight. So um, now it's a little different now. There's a lot more testing. Testing is a lot more readily available. Um, people are smarter now. I think, if they're waking up and they're like, I don't know, I don't feel feel perfect. People are going and get tested, and it's easier to do that. I mean, you can make an appointment, drive, where I live, you can drive 5 minutes down the road. There's no wait times. As long as you schedule the appointment, you pay your money, you get your test. It takes 30 minutes and you get the results. So that helps a lot. And I think that during this pandemic, I think this is something that gets missed too. The people that are training right now and making all the sacrifices and doing the tough things to get to fights during this pandemic are the people that really want to be there. So everyone's being super, super, cautious, and there's not a lot of regional stuff going on. So a lot of those guys that were kind of on the regional scene had to kind of back out of training. They had to, get jobs or go full time or whatever, because they're not making money. So it's only the real serious guys and mostly guys in the UFC that are training right now anyway. So the training intensity has actually gone up since this whole thing.
Thom?
I have a question. What can you tell me about Factory X and Mark Montoya? And this is kind of a selfish question, because I got two boys that are 9 and 11. I think someday they're going to fight because they show those tendencies. I wonder why. I thought myself, and I'm a wrestling guy. So I look at Mark, and my experience with him has always been really positive. He's always respectful. I've cornered fighters, cornered Seth Baczynski. I know Jesse Forbes. So I've been around the scene.
Jesse Forbes, I haven't heard that name in a long time.
Yeah, I've heard an old story about that. Seth told me about that. I know you almost knocked him out. I like that guy. And there's some trainers, I'm not going to mention any names, they're, kind of arrogant. Their fighter's good. And my experience with Mark, he's always respectful, and he's always seems to be looking what other people are doing to gather the information for his father, for his fighter. So what do you say about Mark and Montoya?
So I came to Mark in 2017.
Mm-hmm.
I know, you know this guy. I've been really tight with Chris Camozzi for most of my career. Again, kind of similar. Same scene, same weight class, similar records. We just never fought. But we've been really close for a long time, and he's always told me, like, hey man, you need to come train at Factory X. You got to come check this out. And in 2017, I was kind of struggling a little bit. I just trying to find my way. And I've always known that I'm good enough to be here. I'm good enough to be at the top. I'm good enough to beat these top dudes.
Absolutely.
And for whatever reason, I was just missing something. I couldn't figure out what it was. So, that was the time that I decided to come meet Mark. And I knew it was probably the first day, like Mark kind of does these trial weeks where it's like, all right, you come train for a week. I'll train you for a week. Let's see how you mesh with the gym. Let's see how you and I work together. Let's see how you fit in with the team. Because not like just anyone can go there. The formula's got to work. So
you got to have the X factor.
You got to. So we trained for that week, but I knew after the first day that, like, all right, this shit's gonna work out. It's just the way that his mind works. And it works for me. And maybe that doesn't work for everybody, but everything there's a system to everything. So there's different series, and inside of every series there's 5 or 6 different ways to go, and on those 5 or 6 different paths there's a couple little branches that you can go a different direction. I need options. I don't need you to walk me through exactly how to get there. I just need you to, like, all right, we need to go this direction. Now there's different roads, and then there's paths off of those roads, and then branches off of that. So I just need those options, and it works for me. And he's always trying to see what the next trend in fighting is going to be, so he can get there first. So if he starts to see, we've seen this all the time. It's the calf kicks, and then it's the oblique kicks, and then it's, there's always the new thing that everybody's doing. So Mark is trying to get ahead of that curve. Lastly, he just really cares, man. He wants you to be successful. As much as you guys see him cornering us and guys in the UFC, he's doing the same thing on the regional scene when it was still running. He's at the LFAs, and he's at the CFFCs, and he's at the Contender Series, and he's coaching on the Ultimate Fighter as a guest coach. I mean, he just wants people to be successful so bad, and he's built this, kind of this empire gym from a little hole in the wall in like a strip mall area. And he's, his whole family is bought into, and that's one of the coolest things to me, is seeing how much his wife, his son, and his daughter much they sacrifice for us too. I mean, before this pandemic started, Mark was on the road. It was something like 38 or 39 weeks that last year, and whether that's an entire week for fight week or whether that's leaving Friday, coming back Sunday, you know, that they're not complaining. They're not, you know, they're not mad at us. They're not mad at him. They just want everyone to be successful. So, you know, as much as I'm with Mark, you know, we always joke around. One of my main training partners is his son, and it's just that's my little dude. You know, he's my warm up buddy because he just goes and he wants to fight and go crazy. So me moving around and jumping around and wrestling with him, like, gets me warmed up, and then I start my session with Mark. So it's a big family there. It really is.
How do you see your fight?
Like love and passion.
Keep going, Thom.
I just said it. What he's described, what I heard was love and passion for
100%.
people, and obviously MMA.
Yeah, 100%.
How do you see fight going on Saturday?
You know, Devin's he's a tough dude. He's gritty, man, and I don't want anything that I say about his fight style or his game to be disrespectful, but you know, it is what it is. He's not a super dynamic striker. He's absolutely got power in his hands. I mean, you see the size of the dude. You know, I just think that we're gonna have to, you know, we're gonna have to weather a storm. We're gonna have to weather a storm. He always starts fast. He throws big overhands and hooks to get to the takedown. They're not necessarily actually thrown to land, but sometimes they do. And he's gonna grind on me for a minute, you know, and I'm fairly confident that we did enough work this training camp. You know, I've had Cody Brundage with me for 8 straight weeks. He's twice the wrestler Devin is. He's got better cardio. He's faster. He's more explosive. The only thing that he's not is stronger than Devin. But I'm confident that we're going to deal with that. So I've had Cody diving at my legs and grinding on me and push me up against the fence for 8 weeks. God damn it, I'm happy I'm going to be able to do it with someone that's not as good as Cody. So it's going to be grindy. It's going to be ugly. The first round's going to be boring probably. And then after that, I can start to open up a little bit. We get him breathing a little bit. We get him to set his feet, and we can start throwing those things.
Well, thank you so much. You were great. You have anything else to say, Thom?
Yeah, just one word of advice. Having been in wrestling for over 45 years, you got to shove his head down.
Absolutely.
Shove his head in between his crotch and do what you do best, you know, land your strikes. And I see victory for you, and we're going to be sending you good vibes for you taking time out of your morning to be with us because you fight on Saturday. So I see a lot of confidence. Cal Montoya, you know, I give him my best, and I give you my best, and I know Carlos, we're going to be cheering for you.
Awesome, guys. I appreciate it.
Thanks so much.
You guys take care, and make sure let's do this again after the fight.
You too. God bless.
God bless you.
Take care, guys.
You too. Bye.